today's video, we're going to be looking at who I think are the most misutilized WWE superstars of 2024. Now, I'm going to be looking at a combination of things as I pick these people. It's a combination of poor booking and also just overall missed potential. I'll try to give you my reasons, my logic, and then we can discuss whether I'm right or wrong in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, let's jump into it. Let's start things off by talking about our WWE World Tag Team Champions and members of the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. And frankly, if you forgot that they were the World Tag Team Champions, I wouldn't blame you, because get this, in the 100 days that they have been champions, they have defended the championship once on television. That means that me and you and everybody else watching this video have only defended the championship only one time less than they have. And on top of that, they really haven't been featured as tag team champions because the storyline that's going on really has Finn Balor by himself in this feud with Damian Priest that kind of just has JD McDonough being fodder to be eaten alive for Damian Priest. It's even weird when they sometimes go out there without their tag team championships. So to me, I wonder why they were even given the tag team championships in the first place. I understand that they were initially given these championships to help further the storyline of Liv Morgan becoming the succubus of the Judgment Day and trying to wrangle them all in and maneuver her way into the group by helping them win the tag titles, but it hasn't really amounted to anything in terms of helping the Judgment Day feel more legitimate because they barely present them as tag team champions to begin with, and it sure as hell has not helped the tag team division in any capacity at all. I compare them to what's going on over on Friday Night SmackDown, where they have a similar situation where the top heel faction are the tag team champions, but that top heel faction is represented as the tag team champions. They're in the tag team division, having tag team storylines and tag team matches on top of having their duties as being members of the bloodline and being part of the main event scene. That is ultimately what we want to see, and we want to see these championships be defended more to elevate the overall tag team division on Monday Night Raw, because there's some great tag teams over there, and that's what we thought was going to happen when the tag titles initially got split up at WrestleMania 40, but it just frankly has not been the case. Really, it's been feast or famine for the tag titles, because right now, what's going on SmackDown, it's been great, but what's happening on Monday Night Raw with Finn Balor and JD McDonough as the World Tag Team Champions just isn't working for me or really anybody. At this point, these titles are as good as the replica titles that I have back here. They just don't feel earned. Anyways, I do hope that perhaps once we sunset the storyline of Finn Balor and Damian Priest, that we can get these titles off of these two guys, or maybe not even necessarily off of these two guys, just reinserted back into the tag team ecosystem so that we can have some banger tag team matches that we know that these two absolutely can have. So my problem isn't them individually, because I know that they're fantastic. They're both great on the mic. We know that JD McDonough is one of the greatest sellers of all time. It's just how they've been utilized as tag team champions. It's just been dog water. Next, let's talk about EOS Sky, because I just feel like EOS Sky should be used better. She should be marketed better. She should be one of the pillars of the WWE main event scene on the women's side of things. And I'm sure that will eventually be the case. I'm sure that she will be reinserted into that ecosystem eventually, because she's just too good and too undeniable to not be part of that world. However, she's been on this weird little side tour, this Skyrim side quest of being a member of Damage Control and taking over Damage Control and becoming a tag team specialist, which is just not what helped propel EOS Sky to the main event scene in the first place. And I really think that part of the problem is the booking of EOS Sky and just in general Damage Control immediately after WrestleMania 40. They didn't get to run back Bayley versus EOS Sky as a storyline or as a match, and it's a shame because as a storyline, it was one of the better built storylines going into WrestleMania 40, and as a match, it was a goddamn instant women's classic, one of the best women's matches of the entire year, and we didn't get to see them run it back, unfortunately. On top of that, even when she was continuing to try and chase some singles accolades, she's losing to a rookie in the Queen of the Ring semifinal, which is, good for Lyra Valkyria, but kind of shocking to have EOS Sky, somebody who was just an incredibly dominant women's champion, who was one of the women's headliners of WrestleMania, not at the very least make it that deep into the Queen of the Ring tournament. And there doesn't really seem to be an end in sight for this tag team Skyrim side quest that EOS Sky is on. I'm sure it will eventually end, but I just don't see it ending before the end of 2024. It's interesting because it's a formula that they're kind of doing with Bianca Belair as well, a perennial main eventer who is absolutely a pillar of the women's division, doing side quests and being in the women's tag team division. But at the very least, Bianca Belair is being featured significantly more and appearing in PLEs, unlike EOS Sky. So if it's about building and developing the women's tag team division, they're doing a heck of a lot better job with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill than they're doing with EOS Sky. So in my opinion, just let EOS Sky run free once this Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan feud is done, so that either whoever comes out as champion has a brand new main event caliber talent to have an awesome set of matches with. Oh my God, bro, the pop!
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Oh, nice! Oh my God! Oh!
Just a lot of just...
That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at The Rock versus Mankind, the one with that legendary Stone Cold return. We have an Ultimate X match between the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money from TNA back in 2010. We're looking at a recent women's classic between Mercedes Moné and Stephanie Vaquer and AEW's Forbidden Door 2024. And we have 2 Hell in a Cell matches for you this week, starting with The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar from No Mercy 2002. This one's a gem. And a recent fan favorite between the Usos and the New Day in a tag team Hell in a Cell match in 2017. Not only will you get the Match Club matches, but you're also getting the weekly Royal Rumble reviews that we're doing, the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, and you're going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everywhere else. So if you want all of that extra content that is just not available here on YouTube and never will be, head on over to patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you even give it just 1 month, that you're gonna fall in love with it. Seriously, everybody that signs up to the Patreon absolutely loves it. Give it a shot. But that's it. All right, back to the video. Now let's talk about Baron Corbin, who was drafted over to Friday Night SmackDown, and I swear to God, I can count the amount of times that he's appeared on SmackDown since being drafted in one hand. He was immediately paired up with Apollo Crews, which I'm fine with because we have seen as of recently somebody like Baron Corbin being able to make these oddball, odd job tag teams work. He did it in NXT where he reinvented and reinvigorated his entire career and his entire character to the point that people were clamoring for the return of Baron Corbin back on the main roster because he was this new and improved, amazing version of himself. And unfortunately, on the main roster in 2024, they haven't really given him the opportunity to be what he became in NXT in the early portions of 2024 and late 2023. We haven't seen that Baron Corbin yet because we don't get to see Baron Corbin really at all. There was a bit of a feud with the LWO, but that didn't really materialize. He just hasn't even gotten a chance to really sink his teeth into a good narrative on Friday Night SmackDown. He's really relegated to just having almost like cameo appearances in the back with Apollo Crews where he says like 4 or 5 words, which I think is severely misutilizing a talent like Baron Corbin, somebody who has demonstrated the ability to take a major leap forward in terms of his development and his professional progression. So I'm all for getting more Baron Corbin, which is just so crazy to say because in the end of 2010s, Baron Corbin was like the guy I wanted to see the least because he was just overutilized. And now we're in 2024 and I'm just begging for more Baron Corbin. Kind of crazy how the tides have turned on that regard. But I know that there is a mutual feeling between me and a lot of people about Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin deserves more screen time. Baron Corbin deserves longer storylines that actually materialize into things as opposed to just one-off segments for like 2 to 3 minutes on SmackDown. Lyra Valkyria started off amazingly on the main roster. She shouldn't be on this list if we were just counting the first couple of months of how she was being used on the main roster after being called up from NXT because she was immediately inserted into main event caliber feuds. She was saving the likes of Becky Lynch. She was winning the Queen of the Ring Raw side of things, losing the final, but for a rookie to make it that far was obviously incredibly impressive. You would think that after that amazing performance, beating EOS Sky for the love of God, and going into Saudi Arabia as the Raw representative of the Queen of the Ring tournament finals, that they would have continued to ascend her and continued to utilize her in these main storylines. Unfortunately, that just hasn't been the case. And there's probably several symptoms to why this is happening. I actually think that part of the reason why EOS Sky and the likes of Lyra Valkyria just aren't progressing is because the title is really locked down in a vacuum storyline between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, where if you're not one of those two, you really don't matter to the picture of the title at the moment, which leaves people like Lyra Valkyria and EOS Sky to just sort of spin their wheels until that feud is done so that they can be inserted into a narrative involving something bigger. But right now, we are seeing Lyra Valkyria just making appearances, being part of this Pure Fusion Collective feud. In fact, the most entertaining thing that they have her doing is back down in NXT in her storyline, rekindling her friendship with Tatum Paxley. And I think that this is just misutilizing the great talent that you have, the great talent that's already demonstrated is one of the best in-ring workers that you have at the moment. This is just an early blip in her main roster career because I do foresee that this will subside and that we will eventually get a Lyra Valkyria that is properly utilized, is reinserted back into singles glory and maybe even into the main event scene. But right now, she really is just spinning her wheels with whatever little micro stories they give her on Monday Night Raw. Otis might be the one that's pissed me off the most out of everyone on this list because they had it. They had it right there. The window was open for a millisecond to actually use Otis for something big and to maybe make him into a major player on Monday Night Raw, and they missed the goddamn window. Otis was hot during the entire saga that was going on alongside Sami Zayn, the Wyatt Six, and of course, his mortal enemy now in Chad Gable, and they did not pull the trigger. At one of these PLEs, they should have done Chad Gable versus Otis. At a major episode of Monday Night Raw, they really should have taken advantage and done a proper beginning to end feud and storyline between Chad Gable and Otis. It felt unfinished, and when they tried to finally do Otis versus Chad Gable, it was too late. The window had closed, the opportunity was gone, and we missed our chance to do something special for a singles run for Otis. Now, I'm not saying that this would have catapulted him to the main event scene, but I think all of us saw that window of opportunity where Otis was getting some of the biggest pops of the entire night during this storyline, and they just did not pull the trigger. And not only did that hurt Otis, but I also think that hurt Chad Gable as well, in my opinion. It should have been Otis, Chad Gable at a PLE, whether it was Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank. They should have done it at SummerSlam. They needed to do something between those two. I understand that they eventually did it. I understand that they did do American Made and American Alpha, but it was too little, too late. And now Otis is on main event. He's barely appearing on Monday Night Raw. I literally saw Alpha Academy and Otis open up main event. And based on how hot he was like 2 months ago, that shouldn't be the case. Where the fuck is Shinsuke Nakamura? Seriously, people, where is our boy Shinsuke Nakamura at this very same time last year was one of the hottest heels in the entire company. The WWE turned the on button on Shinsuke Nakamura, and Shinsuke was delivering some of the most entertaining pre-tape backstage promos that completely reinvigorated his character. People were tuned in, dialed into what Shinsuke Nakamura was saying in these Yakuza-like promos. Remember his like manga anime style promos that he would do? They were fucking amazing. And now all of a sudden, he's just gone. He's not there anymore. And it could be an injury as of the making of this video, but he just wasn't appearing period at all. He was making periodic appearances for the entirety of 2024, where really he was just being used as fodder to help elevate other baby faces. But we haven't really gotten anything of substance for Shinsuke Nakamura in 2024. And based on the awesome work that he did with Seth Rollins at the same time last year, I think that is a waste entirely. He was drafted over to Friday Night SmackDown. They did some vignettes about Shinsuke Nakamura appearing and making a comeback to SmackDown. It's been literal months since this has happened, and we have not seen Shinsuke Nakamura, which is a shame. The Pure Fusion Collective. This, on paper, should work. These are three amazing performers that really didn't have a great direction in 2024. WWE put them together, and I thought that they could make magic, but unfortunately, they just haven't. When I look at everyone individually in this group, they should be stars, especially when put together, but I just don't think that the booking has really done them any favors whatsoever. When they come out as a group, as the Pure Fusion Collective, they get like negative pop. I don't understand how that's even possible. I really like the idea of these badass women just running show, just destroying everyone on Monday Night Raw, and that's how it started. It was interesting, and then this whole notion of Monday Night Raw runs through us really just went by the wayside when they just started losing match after match after match after match. So this initial little glimmer of hope that they were finally going to utilize these three in a meaningful way just kind of disappeared over the last couple of weeks of Monday Night Raw episodes. It really is a shame because I'm going to reiterate, I love all three of these performers. On their own, they can be so good, so entertaining, but this just has not worked. Let's talk about Giovani Vinci, and I don't have him on this list because he's like jobbing to Apollo Crews whatsoever. If anything, I think that that's helping his character, his overall stock, because it means that I'm actually talking about Giovani Vinci. Had Giovani Vinci just re-debuted with this mogul persona that he currently has and just beaten Apollo Crews, I promise you people wouldn't be talking about him. But now people are actually talking about Giovani Vinci, and they're interested as to where this character is going. My problem with Giovani Vinci's utilization in 2024 hasn't really been with what they're doing with him right now. It's what they were doing with him before, when he was still a part of Imperium. The fact that he got kicked out of Imperium the way that he did, and he didn't even get a chance to have a feud with Ludwig Kaiser on his way out, is crazy. That should have been an amazing feud for both of those performers, in my opinion. But in the months even before he got kicked out of Imperium, he was just the guy on Imperium that did great in-ring work, but would just always, every single time, be the one that eats the pin. And I think that that's a little bit unfair for poor Gio. But out of a lot of the people on this list, I'm kind of optimistic as to where this is going to go. I don't know that he's going to be winning world championships anytime soon with this character, but I'm intrigued. I'm interested in this elaborate troll that WWE played on us for months with these vignettes like he was this unstoppable rich mogul that was about to come take over the WWE. Meanwhile, he's losing in 3 seconds in his debut. I'm interested. But when I look at the entirety of his 2024, Giovani Vinci should have been used so much better. All right, folks, that's the list I've come up with. Now is your chance to tell me who you think is the most misutilized WWE superstar so far in 2024. Let me know down in the comments below. We'll have a little discussion, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.